I don't think there's a need for a long introduction here, because by now I'm pretty sure you have at least heard of the Moto G5 Plus and most probably also seen a few reviews. But what I want to let you know today in my first impressions video after one day is if it really is the uber mid-ranger that everyone says it is, and I myself expected it to be as well, because I gotta say, after using it for one day, I actually am not quite so sure, because everything looks very solid, but if super solid is still enough with the super strong competition these days, we will have to see, and that's what I think so far. First of all, design and build. Yes, it actually looks really nice, and I have no problems with the design at all, because buttons are placed really great, and even though the camera protrudes a little bit, overall the appearance is nice. But I also have to say it is noticeably wider than I expected it to be, because it is quite a wide 5.2 incher, but still a 5.2 incher, so it makes it quite easy to use after all. But then there are some things about the build quality where I'm just not blown away, because if I didn't get that wrong, the sides are just plastic and only the back is metal. But it actually feels like the metal would, or the back would be just plastic as well, because it doesn't feel hollow or so, but due to the kind of finish, it just lacks a little bit of premium heft. And yes, with the slight little curve here towards the sides, it feels comfortable and it feels nice, but nice, not really premium, because we have phones like the Huawei P10 Lite out there, the Honor 8 and some other ones that just for a similar price deliver a nicer feel in hand, a little bit more premium. And then there are things like, for example, the buttons. They are placed amazingly, as I said, but they feel a little bit mushy and I'm missing any sort of audio feedback. There's also no notification LED, because yes, Moto uses their Moto display, so all is good here. In terms of the fingerprint reader, it works well, it reacts nice, but as you can also maybe see, there is always this little bit of an animation for the turn on and turn off. And this makes the whole unlocking mechanism actually feel longer than it is, because as you can see, this doesn't look instantly, because the fingerprint reader on its own, if the display is on, reacts very well and is super reliable. But the screen on turn on time is something that makes or breaks kind of the feel if a device is snappy, at least the turn on. At least that's the case for me. When it comes to the display, I gotta say one thing. It is a little bit too cold for me, quite noticeably too cold in terms of the white, and colors seem a little bit pale. It doesn't really seem undersaturated, and I already have it set to vibrant, but it just lacks a little bit of that, a little bit of nice to look at, enjoyable saturation. It's more on the accurate side, but accurate these days actually can, for some people, feel already like dull or boring. But otherwise, in terms of the speaker, and that's just a real quick demo, because I will tell you more in the review. What I gotta say about the speaker, it is solid, I would say mostly loud enough. Didn't check the headphone jack yet, but it should be quite decent, because especially on the Z Play it was actually quite good. Now, when it comes to the performance, here is what I gotta say, because once again, there is one thing where I'm not 100% sure what to think of, because app launch times aren't crazy fast, but I didn't expect it from a Snapdragon 635 device. But I've used the Moto Z5 Play, and as you have maybe already seen, if it launches a few apps, sometimes until you actually use the app, it actually feels like there is a little bit of a delay, a little bit of initial stutter going on. I didn't really see that on the Moto Z Play. And yes, for sure, they can fix that without any problems, and they can improve that in the future. But this was already the case on the Z5 or the Z Play from the start, and on the G5 Plus I don't see that yet. It is super smooth and super reliable with 3 GB of random multitasking is also nice. So the overall experience is very good, but it doesn't feel quite as refined as on some of the Snapdragon 625 phones that I've used by now. Gaming I will talk about in the full review, but it definitely is absolutely solid on a 625 level. Battery life I also don't know so much yet, because I've used it for about 1 cycle, and since it is a Snapdragon 625 with a 3000 mAh battery, it just has to be at least very good. I know that. I've used a lot of phones with kind of similar specs, so that's pretty much already a given. Software I won't really show off, because there is not much to show off. You can use on-screen buttons or the fingerprint reader as the home button and some other similar things, but otherwise it's a very bare bones stock Android experience with pretty much no bloat, which is nice, and we already have running Android Nougat. Now when it comes to the camera, just real quick, of course, way more in the final review. Selfies look absolutely fine, really nice. Low light capabilities are good. You need a little bit more of a steady hand, but the outcome is usually, I would say, at least on a good, if not very good level. When we go outside though, this is where things get a little bit more interesting, because here I have to say, if you have good lighting, you can get really great pictures and the shutter times are nice and so on. But what I've noticed also as well is the quite flaky autofocus, because I had a lot of misfires, and even sometimes I just pointed it, I see, yes, it's in focus, I want to press and it loses already focus. So this happened way more often than on any other phone that I can remember in the past. So this definitely can be fixed, and it should be fixed, because it was a little bit annoying. But the camera on its own can produce really nice shots, and you will see this in my full review videos, were also very nice. Not great, but for a $300 phone, definitely very nice. So overall take for now, at the price of around $300, but yes, I also know on Amazon it's cheaper if you get the ad-supported version. And then I would say it's pretty much, without a doubt, the best phone you can get. But if we are talking about $300, and especially in a region where we have more competition than in the US, for example, with phones like the Huawei P10 Lite 2017 and Samsung Galaxy A5 2017, also a Nubia Z11 Mini S, and also a Huawei Nova, you get way more options what you could choose, because there are phones that are more compact, that feel a little bit more premium, that have a nicer display, maybe a better speaker. Camera, this is already quite high up on top. Battery life is also quite good, really good on all of these as well. So it doesn't really quite stand out as it did in the past. And in the US it still does, because the competition here is way more sparse. But everywhere else in the world where these are available, this is still a super solid phone and definitely well worth the price. And if you want a stock Android experience, one of the really few really good choices in this price range. But like I said, not the only one, and especially if you have different preferences, there are just other options. But this is pretty much all about now for the first impressions video. I just need more time to really get a feel for it with my user experience in daily life, and then I will give you all my final conclusions in the full review. But otherwise, I hope it was helpful for you, and I wish you a nice day. Until next time, bye.